This is a Navy guided missile cruiser, one of the most heavily armed warships ever put to sea. But none of that firepower means a thing against one enemy it can't shoot back at: the ocean. Just look at this wave coming over the bow. On a normal ship, that's enough water to flip it, or worse. How a warship this size eats waves like this for breakfast and asks for seconds starts right here. Watch where it sits right now. The bow climbs one wave while the stern hangs off the back of another. The whole middle of the ship hangs over open water between the two crests, holding itself up on nothing. A few seconds later, it flips. A crest rolls under the middle and lifts it. Now both ends hang in the open air. Bow and stern, hundreds of tons each, with nothing underneath them. That first one has a name: hogging. The second is sagging. The ocean alternates between the two every few seconds, all night long. So the sea is bending a 567-foot steel beam back and forth 1,000 times before sunrise. Take a steel ruler and bend it in your hands. It springs back the first few times, and then if you keep going, it doesn't. Now, make that ruler 567 feet long and 9,800 tons heavy. Bend it for 2 solid days. That's the load on this hull. Steel doesn't care how tough the crew is. Bend it back and forth enough times, and it gives. So how does the hull take it? It cheats. The hull isn't a tube, it's a box girder. Up top, the main deck is one flange. Down below, the bottom plating is the other. Tie them together with the sides and inner walls, and you've got one long welded beam built to carry that bending. And here's the part that sounds backwards. The hull is built to flex. It's supposed to bend a little. A skyscraper that refuses to sway in the wind snaps. A hull that refuses to flex cracks straight across. Now, those spec sheet numbers start to mean something. 567 feet is why the trough can open under the keel in the first place. 9,800 tons is the weight that force is trying to bend. 4 General Electric LM2500 gas turbines drive it past 30 knots, the same CF6 jet engine that powers passenger airliners, and she needs that speed. Lose it and she loses steering, and the sea picks the angle instead of her. The very size that makes this a warship is the same size that lets the sea try to snap it in half. Strength and weakness, same number. The hull handles the bending, but bending is the slow threat. The fast one can finish a ship in minutes. The storm builds on radar long before it arrives. A green smear crawls across the scope. The captain sees it coming and the order goes out over the 1MC, the ship's all-hands speaker. Secure the ship for heavy weather. Everywhere on board, all hands stop what they're doing and start tying the ship down. Anything loose gets lashed, stowed, or strapped. In a few hours, anything that can move will move. And something like a loose toolbox in heavy seas is a missile with your name on it. Up on the bridge, the officer of the deck watches the wave climb past the bridge wing. He calls it down to the watch, Sea State 7. And that number isn't a guess. It's the Navy's scorecard for how mean the ocean's gotten. 0 for a flat pond on up. A7 means running 20 to 30 feet. A6 is a 2-story building of moving water. And an 8 is up where the real monsters live. But this ship is doing more than just surviving. This cruiser is rated to keep fighting at Sea State 6. Too cautious and she gives up the sea to the enemy. Too reckless and she loses the ship to the weather. So she threads the line between the two and keeps fighting. Hiding was never on the table. She buttons up and goes to work. Watch a sailor drop the last dog on a hatch and lean on the wrench until the seal bites. Make it too loose and the sea works the gap open. Too tight and the gasket splits and you've made the leak you were trying to stop. Down the passageway, the next hatch slams shut. Then the next. The sound running ahead of the weather, compartment by compartment. That's the crew setting condition zebra. The ship's maximum watertight integrity. Every door and hatch sealed tight. It's the exact same lockdown she sets for battle stations. Here's why it matters. A seam deep in the hull works loose. A compartment starts taking water and the ship doesn't even lean. The sealed boxes on either side pin the water right where it came in. The ship keeps going as if nothing happened. That's the whole point. Flood any single box and the ship still floats level. The crew seals a door against a storm the same way it seals a torpedo. Flooding doesn't care how the water got in. It's the bulkhead idea the Titanic almost got right, except a warship's boxes run all the way up, and they actually stay sealed, instead of letting the water slop over the top from one box into the next. The sound of a ship rigging down is a sound you feel in your teeth. Dogging wrenches clanging on steel, hatches booming shut down the length of the hull. One open fitting, one lazy seal, and the whole scheme has a gap. That's the game. Someone is always watching for that gap. Damage control teams stand by through the worst of it. Pumps staged, patches ready, every compartment tracked on a board. What no one watching that board knows yet is which seam will be the one to go. Only that one of them will. Water finds a way in, because at sea it always tries. They catch it and stop it before one wet compartment becomes two. The sealed boxes buy time. The teams spend it. So the ship is sealed. Now comes the part that should not be possible. Imagine the floor under you dropping 2 full stories, then shoving back up into your knees every 8 seconds for 2 days straight. Now, go do your job in that, because the watch never stops. Not for weather, not for anything. The bridge stays manned, and the engineering watch stays manned down in the heat and the noise, and the lookouts stay posted. A warship that stops watching the sea is a warship that's already lost. So the rotations grind on no matter what the ocean does. The helicopter that flies off her flight deck is struck below and chained down. Nobody is landing a helo on a deck pitching 20 feet. The small boats are grip-tied in their cradles. Every piece of gear topside is either bolted to the ship or lashed to something that is. In this much sea, loose equipment doesn't stay equipment for long. It becomes shrapnel. There's a reason it's even possible to stand a post up there. On the bridge itself, the motion is a long, slow lean. Walk 30 feet aft and down toward a berthing compartment near the stern, and the same wave throws you off your feet. That's not luck. Pitch is the worst at the ends of the ship and almost nothing at the center. So the Navy sticks the brains of the ship, the bridge and the CIC, the Combat Information Center, right in the middle, where she barely moves. It's like the difference between sitting over the wheels of a bus and sitting in the very back row. It's still a fight to do the simplest thing. Down in the galley, cooks put out hot food for hundreds of people while the deck heaves 20 feet under them. Pots get latched to the ranges. Trays slide off the tables and the crew eats one-handed. It's the first thing you learn in hard weather. One hand for yourself, one hand for the ship, always. And there's a reason the watch gets doubled. All that vertical motion makes people sick. It also dulls the judgment of the ones who never feel queasy. A tired, motion-hammered watchstander makes mistakes, so you spread the load. Try eating a sandwich that's actually trying to leave the plate, and you'll get the idea. Through all of it, the ship still has to be able to shoot. That's the trick that separates a warship from a very expensive boat. Look at those hatches. Those are the Mark 41 Vertical Launching System. The full designation is Mk-41 VLS, a grid of 122 fixed cells split fore and aft, set straight into the deck, each one a silo pointed at the sky. It carries SM-2 and SM-6 missiles, Tomahawk cruise missiles, and ASROC anti-submarine rockets from a single unified launcher. Range depends on the round. SM-6 reaches out to 240 nautical miles, roughly the distance from Chicago to Detroit. Most launchers point like a turret. This one is a deck full of silos. It never aims, it just opens. The missile clears the deck, and the fire control computer takes it from there, straightening out a 30-degree roll in the first half second of flight. Nothing about the launch ever needed the deck to be level. Now look at the radar. Down in the CIC, a single track sits rock steady on the big display. A contact 100 miles out, its line clean and unbroken. The whole ship heaves under the operator's boots and the line doesn't move. That steadiness is the AN Spy-1 phased array radar. 4 fixed flat panels built into the superstructure, each one a grid of 4,350 transmit-receive modules covering a full quarter of the horizon. No moving parts, no turning antenna. It steers its beam with electronics, not muscle, scanning 165 miles in every direction at once. 1,000 contacts tracked and updated, while the ship underneath it rolls 30 degrees and asks it not to blink. A computer reads exactly how the ship is tilted. thousands of times a second and scrubs the roll out of the picture before anyone in the room ever sees it. An old radar is a man turning his whole head to look around the room. This one is a man whose eyes flick anywhere instantly while his head never moves. So the deck rolls 30 degrees and the picture holds. This is what survival around surrender looks like. A cruiser taking 30-foot seas can still shoot. She can still hold a clean track 100 miles out. A ship of war doesn't get to stop being one just because the weather turned ugly. But a warship in a storm has a quieter problem: fuel. Those 4 turbines drink hard, and fighting heavy seas burns far more than calm water ever does. A cruiser can't pull into a gas station. She fills up at sea from a tanker. Both ships steaming side by side about 180 feet apart while the hoses span the gap. Even in calm water, that's a delicate job. In a seaway, it's something else. 2 ships, thousands of tons each, rise and fall on the same waves but never quite in sync. A fuel line strung between them can't take the strain if they roll apart at the wrong moment. And the fuel can't just slosh into any tank. Too much forward and the bow digs deeper into every wave. Too much aft, and the stern squats and the steering goes soft. The deck crews work the line soaked to the skin, timing the ship's motion, ready to break the rig away in seconds if the gap opens too far. It's one of the most dangerous things a crew does in good weather. They still do it in bad. A warship low on fuel in a storm has traded one problem for a worse one. Bend it, flood it, starve it. She has an answer for every one of them, which leaves the oldest way the sea has ever taken a ship down: rolling it over and not letting it come back. A wave shoves 9,800 tons over to 30 degrees, and by every instinct you have, it should keep going. It doesn't, and here's why. Watch the next big one hit. The ship leans hard and hangs at the bottom of the roll for one long, sickening half second. Then she swings herself back upright, slow and deliberate, like something alive that's had enough. She does it because of how she's built, and almost none of what makes it work is visible above the water. Everything you see is the light part, the superstructure, the masts, the radar panels. Below the waterline, there's another 30-plus feet of ship you never see. That's where the weight lives. The engines, the generators, the fuel, the heaviest machinery aboard, and all of it packed as low in the hull as the designers could get it. That makes the ship deliberately bottom-heavy. Roll her, and she fights back like a weighted punching bag toy, the kind that rocks upright, no matter how hard the kid clobbers it. The harder you shove it down, the harder it stands back up. The ship does the same thing. Her weight still pulls straight down, but the water shoves back up through the fat part of the hull that just dunked under on the low side. Those two forces stop lining up. That mismatch twists her back toward upright. The further she rolls, the bigger the mismatch gets. So the twist only grows the more the sea leans on her. The ocean pushes, and the ship's own shape shoves her back harder. But how she comes back matters as much as that she comes back. Time the roll. It's slow, a long, heavy lean of several seconds each way. That slowness is a feature. Big ships roll slow. A small boat snaps back and forth in a heartbeat. The slow roll is something a crew can brace for and ride out. The snap roll is the dangerous one. It hurls people across compartments and tears gear off of bulkheads. The ship has help keeping the roll slow. Fin stabilizers, small angled wings that reach out from the hull below the waterline. A gyro senses the roll starting and twists the fins to bite the passing water and shove back, locking the roll down before it builds. But the fins live on a hard rule. Too slow and the water stops flowing over them and they go limp. Too still and they're just flat steel in the current. They bite only when she's moving, the same way the plane's wings only lift once it's rolling. So the moment she slows to ride out the worst of it, the fins quietly quit on her. Here's the limit nobody likes to talk about. That self-riding twist is strong, but it's not infinite. Push her far enough and she hits a point engineers call vanishing stability, the line of no return. Past it, the physics flips. A twist that was shoving her upright reverses and starts dragging the rest of her the way over. From the wrong side of that mark, there's no coming back. Lean a little and she's just uncomfortable. Lean too far and she's gone. So all of it, how she's weighted, how she's driven, is the one long fight to keep every roll on the safe side. There's a threat to that margin that sounds too simple to be dangerous. weight up high. In the freezing Atlantic, spray comes over the ship and freezes where it lands. It builds up fastest in the worst place, high on the superstructure, on the masts, on the railings, and the gun mounts. Ton after ton of ice, piling up exactly where it does the most harm. All of it pushes her weight higher up, shifts her center of gravity exactly the wrong way. And the higher that weight sits, the weaker the riding twist gets, and the closer her safe roll creeps to the line she can't cross. So the crew fights it by hand. Out come the baseball bats and the sledgehammers. The sailors of the Vella Gulf go out into the storm and beat the ice off the ship. They swing at the rails and the lifelines on a pitching, frozen deck, knocking the weight back into the sea before it climbs high enough to matter. $1,000,000 physics and a guy with a sledgehammer at 2 in the morning. Same fight. Bend it, flood it, roll it. She's beaten all three, which is the moment the sea stops being clever and throws its hardest single punch. Back to the buried bow from the very first frame. You've seen the hull now, the lockdown, the watch that never sleeps, the launch off a rolling deck, the physics that drags the ship back upright. So you know exactly what you're looking at when it happens. The bow drives straight into the back of a wave instead of climbing over it. Tons of solid seawater come up and over the deck. Not spray this time, but a moving wall of green-black water, rail to rail, and the whole forecastle vanishes under it. And that wall does something nasty to the beam underneath. It slams a shock down the whole length of the hull. That whole ship's shudder has a name: whipping. The whole girder flexes and rings from the blow. The way a struck bell keeps humming after the hammer leaves it. The hull is built to take that, to ring and settle and carry on. But every ring is the ocean testing the welds, hunting for the one that's tired enough to let go. And no one aboard knows which weld that is. Remember the steel ruler from the start? This is someone walking up and smacking the end of it with a sledgehammer while it's already bent. It's one of the worst single hits the structure ever takes, which is exactly why the whole ship was braced for it long before it landed. Notice what's not happening. Nobody is out on that forward deck. Not a soul. The deck was cleared and sealed hours ago, back when the order came down to secure the ship. A wall of water that would sweep a person straight over the side instead sweeps across nothing but bare, lockdown steel. Up on the bridge, the watch is already working the problem. They ease the course and the speed to take the seas at an angle. If they're too head-on, the bow keeps burying itself. Too broadside and the ship rolls her rails under. The angle between is the only safe road through. A watchstander reads out the strain on the hull. The captain weighs every adjustment against the long beam taking the punishment underneath them all. That is the question the whole night has been building toward. Can something this big take the ocean's best shot and keep fighting the whole time? The answer isn't a boast, and it isn't even a close call. It's almost boring. Nobody panics. They've drilled it 100 times, and it goes in the log like any other watch. The sea swings as hard as it can. She takes it, shrugs the water off, and holds her course. The bow climbs back out through the trough, white water sheeting off the forecastle in long, ragged curtains. She's already settling her shoulder into the next wave. Hundreds of people inside a 9,800-ton machine, pulling off something most folks couldn't picture, in the middle of the Atlantic at 3 in the morning. And they treat it like just another watch, because for them, that's all it is. If you enjoyed this video, then watch this video to see if merchant ships can survive the same type of seas. Bye for now.